Why do you... Interest only loan? Thank you very much. We've only been paying interest on our loan. Now, if this person actually had a home loan, you tend to pay off the home loan first because your home loan is not tax deductible. So you pay your non-deductible debt off before you pay your deductible debt off. So we've got a loan of 300. The property's gone up 300. Obviously, it doesn't quite go like that. It might go something like this and like that. Who knows what it might do. It might only get to here. As long as it's sometime and it's going to double, maybe it might take 15 years. I mean, if it takes 15 years to make 300,000, well, it's not too bad. So over 10 years, the property, let's round figures that previous slide, it was going to cost us between $80 and $110 a week. Let's say it's $100 a week. How much do you think in year 10 this property will be costing you per week to service in this situation? There's no right answer, just roughly. How much? The same? Any advances on the same? More? Why is that?
Rent increases.
We're getting very warm. We're getting very warm. So rent increases, and you're saying then the cost is less?
Well, if interest rates go down, you pay less on interest.
Yeah, well, let's say interest rates are much the same. So it's going to cost you less because rent's gone up. Rents double every 12 to 13 years. Values double every 7 to 10 years. So do you think this property worth $300,000 that we're getting $300 a week? Do you think we'll be getting $300 a week when it's worth $600,000? I don't think so. 10 years ago, when that property was worth $150,000, let's say it was probably worth $130,000, how much was the rent 10 years ago for this one bedroom property in Carlton? It was probably about $180 a week, let's say. 20 years ago, the property is worth $75,000 and the rent is $100 a week. If we're all sitting here 20 years ago and saying this is probably worth 100, it'll be worth 300,000, the rent will be $300 a week, what would we say? What would we be saying? Bull dust? Interesting. The same fundamentals of supply and demand has happened the last 20 years, like it's probably going to happen the next 20 years and next 50 years. And now we've got a property that had one person renting in it, a one-bedroom unit, paying $300 a week, and now this one-bedroom unit in 10 years' time has actually got two people in it, paying $250 a week each and getting $500 a week rent. And 10 years up, making 20 years' time, this property's gone to $1,100,000 and it's actually got three people in it paying $300 a week each. They're still paying $300 a week, they're just more people in the same property. And that's how, if we rhyme like New York or London, you have more people in the same property because they can't afford to pay it themselves. They have to sacrifice their lifestyle to afford living close to the city. My sisters are engineers and they live in London, and they've been there for 5 years. And Tianka was telling me the other day that one of her friends, when they first went to London and rented a property, they rented a 5-bedroom house in London, and she asked me how many people do you think lived in that property with this person, and the answer was, truthfully, 15 people. 15 people lived in this 5-bedroom house in London. Now obviously that's not the normal, but you get a feeling of what happens. You know, sure, incomes don't increase the same rate as what property values do, but people sacrifice, and if you want to live there, you share. So that's how we're going to get more rental income over time, because the population is going to move in there and you have more renters fighting over the existing properties that push up rents. And that's what you want your property to do. It needs to be able to generate more rental income over time. So let's have a look at this example where you buy one property over a period of time. and this is a $300,000 property per the previous slide. It's now worth $618,000 after 10 years. After 20 years, 15 and 20 years, the property's then gone from $600,000 to $1.2 million. It's doubled again. In 20 years, we've still got the same amount of debt of $300,000 because it's interest only. So our equity's gone up $900,000. So we're positively geared on this property. It normally breaks even after 10 years, say 10, 12 years. After 20 years, you're flying. You've got a rental income of, I don't know how much it is, but let's say it's $40,000 a year. Maybe it's not quite that much. It might be $30,000 a year. Net income, your rent greater than your outgoings by something like $400 or $500 a week. Let's say it's $20,000 to be conservative. When we talked about how much do you need in retirement, $50,000, $70,000, well, here's $20,000 from one property in 20 years' time. So if you had two properties, you can generate $40,000 or $50,000 in positive income over a period of time. So let's say this investor, after 5 years, all going well, bought another property. Obviously, they had to pay more for a similar property, $430,000. After 5 years, it's gone up to a similar value, and it holds that second property for 15 years, and the first property for 20 years. The net effect of that, it's got two properties worth $1.2 million each. The debt is still $730,000, but by having two properties working for them over 15 and 20 years, they've now got $1.8 million in equity in those properties. You know, and that's probably generating something like $50,000